Hello, guys. Hello, my dear students. How are you today? I hope you are okay, working hard or studying hard in your homes. Today is Thursday. Yeah, we almost finished this week, and well, the date is 9th July, right? This is the second video class. The class from yesterday, remember, it was our first class, and we talk about the passive voice, no, in the simple present. That was from yesterday. Today, we are going to talk again about the passive voice, but in this case, related with the simple past, okay, which is the second tense that we have to check according to the syllabus, okay? Also, we are going to make a reading activity, which is very important. I think the best way to learn English is reading. Yeah, when you read and you listen yourself, you can improve your pronunciation and you can improve your vocabulary, of course, and your grammar. So everything only in one activity, okay, which is reading, okay? If you don't like reading, don't worry. So it's just a short reading. It's not too long. But try to make this activity with me. I will explain later the activity, but try to do it with me, which is, and you're gonna improve your English and your pronunciation a lot. Believe. Okay, so welcome. I'm gonna share my screen like I always do in the class. Okay, so here we are. English class level 8, the topics today. So we are going to check the passive voice in simple past, like I said before. And also we are going to make a reading activity related with journalism in Colombia. Okay, journalism in Colombia. Those are the two topics for today. Okay, let's begin. Okay, the topic number one, we are going to start with the passive voice, la voz pasiva. But today we are going to check how to use the passive voice, but in the simple past. Cómo se usa en el pasado simple, okay? That you already know this tense, the simple past. But now we are going to include the new topic, which is the passive voice, okay? Okay, so let's start here. In the previous class, we checked how to use the passive voice with the simple present. Now, today, let's check how to use the passive voice in the simple past, okay? Remember, we use the passive voice when the object is the most relevant information in the sentence, okay? So if the object is the most important information, passive voice, okay? The subject in this case is not necessary because the subject is not performing the action, but the object. In this case, the object is performing the action, okay? Example, vamos el ejemplito acá. I wrote a book. I acted voice in simple past, una oración en pasado simple, ¿cierto? Sencillita, sujeto, I, verbo, verb, ¿no? As objects. Okay. Entonces, I, el verbo en pasado, wrote, y el objeto, a book. ¿Listo? Active voice, ¿no? Voz activa in simple past. ¿Listo? Ok, and vamos a cambiarla ahora. Let's change the previous sentence into a passive voice. Entonces, ¿qué sucede acá? Entonces ya este I, yo, pues ya no es relevante porque la información más importante sería el objeto, ¿no? Donde recae la acción. Entonces, switch, the object comes first, pongo primero el objeto, a book. En este caso, como se dan cuenta, la oración está en pasado simple, entonces voz pasiva tiene que ir en pasado simple, ¿ok? So, in this way, a book was, which is the past of the verb to be, written, el verbo en participio, by me, that would be the passive voice, the same sentence, but in passive voice. ¿Okay? ¿Cómo traduciríamos esto como un libro? No, mentiras, un libro, sí. Libro fue escrito por mí. Something like that. Ay, ¿qué escribo acá? Okay, that will be in Spanish. Okay, a book was written by me. Un libro fue escrito por mí. ¿Listo? As you can see, the object, a book, now is performing the action. That is why we must use the passive voice, like I explained before. So the object, in this case, the object is a book, now is performing the action, so we use the passive voice, okay? So this is the grammar structure for the passive voice. We have the object, no, like I said before, plus the verb to be in past. Remember, the verb to be in past is was or were, plus the verb in past participle, plus the complement, okay? So basically, it's the same passive voice in simple present, the same as yesterday, the same structure, but the only difference is the conjugation of the verb to be. So if the passive voice is in simple present, the verb to be is, are, or am, remember? But if the passive voice is in past, in simple past, we have to use the conjugation of the verb to be in past, which is was or were, remember? Okay, so this is the structure, no? Object plus verb to be in past, was or were, plus the verb in past participle, plus complement, ¿ok? Entonces, más ejemplos, ¿listo? Más ejemplos. A thief stole my car. Un ladrón se robó mi carro, ¿listo? Active voice, el ladrón está de sujeto, stole es el verbo en pasado, de robar, y el objeto, mi carro, ¿listo? Entonces, I'm gonna switch, la voy a pasar a así, entonces, my car, el objeto va primero, my car was, entonces en este caso es was porque el carro es singular. Si fueran dos carros, no sé, muy de malas que le hagan my cars, pues ya no sería was, sino sería were, because it's plural. But in this case, it's only one car, so it's a car, solo es uno, entonces was. My car was stolen. ¿Listo? El verbo, entonces este verbo steal es el presente, steal, el pasado es stole, como está ahí, y el participio pasado es este stolen, so my car was stolen, and the complement by, no, the preposition always in passive voice is by, a thief, okay? Passive voice. ¿Listo? Otro ejemplo. She sang a song, ella cantó una canción, active voice. A change to passive voice, a song, object, was sung by her, okay? A song was sung by her. Entonces, este es el verbo cantar, en presente sing, en pasado es sang, y el participio es sung. Okay, so a song was sung by her. That is passive voice. ¿Listo? O sea, como una canción fue cantada por ella. That will be in Spanish, okay? Okay, vamos acá, more examples. Michelangelo made the painting. Miguel Ángel realizó la pintura. Michelangelo made the painting. Okay, voz activa. Passive voice. The painting was, because it's singular, was made by Michelangelo. Passive voice. Okay. La pintura fue realizada por Miguel Ángel. That would be passive voice. Okay. Another example here, Gabriel Garcia Marquez won the Nobel Prize in 1982. 1982, when I was born. Okay, active voice, no? Passive voice, the Nobel Prize was won by Gabriel Garcia Marquez in 1982. Passive voice. Okay. Pilas con los años. Acá sí ven que hay un año acá, in 1982. O los años o las frecuencias de tiempo también. Because sometimes, sorry guys, 1 second, I need to answer this chat very quick. Okay, because when we have periods of time, when we have years or days or months, whatever, this part, when we use the passive voice, goes, or in any sentence, goes in the last part of the sentence, okay? So it's the same in passive voice, no? So the Nobel Prize was won, sorry, the Nobel Prize was won by Gabriel Garcia Marquez in 1982. Entonces, ¿ven? Ahí va al final, igual que como estaba en la oración activa. Entonces, todo lo que sean años, días, fechas, siglos, meses, ¿listo? Se mantiene, siempre van en la parte final de una oración, ¿ok? Even in passive voice. Okay, another example, they design those beautiful dresses. They design those beautiful dresses. In passive voice, we can have those beautiful dresses were, pilas acá utilizo were. ¿Por qué? Pues porque dresses, que sería mi objeto, los vestidos, es plural, so were, ¿no? Si fuera singular sería was, but in this case it's plural, were. Those beautiful dresses were designed by them. Okay, passive voice. The verb is regular, so the past participle is the same, ¿no? Okay, let's practice. Okay, ya vamos a practicar. Okay? Please, activity number 1, please change the next sentences from active voice to passive voice. Example, entonces les doy la oración en voz activa. They bought some clothes yesterday. Ustedes tienen que pasármela a voz pasiva. Some clothes, entonces acá, some clothes were bought by them yesterday. Passive voice, okay? So the same with number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, okay? Es activity number 2, esta. Select the correct option for passive voice. Entonces tienen Spanish taught in this language school. Entonces tienen que escoger Spanish taught or was taught in this language school. Select, aquí la pueden subrayar. Bueno, yo les ayudo con la primera. Entonces, tengo Spanish taught in this language school or Spanish was taught in this language school. So in this case, the correct option is this one because this is a passive voice, okay? So the same, ¿no? Picasso's painting and drawing. Entonces tengo was all or were all. ¿Cuál de las dos opciones es correcta? Y la subrayo, ¿listo? Okay. Activity 3, one more time related with activity 3, one more time related with passive voice. Complete these sentences with the verbs in brackets. Use the past simple passive. Entonces tienen esos verbos acá. Use, buy, write, build, own, wear, design, educate, send, and force. You have to complete the sentence. Solo hay que completar la oración. Ya tienen el verbo. Using the passive voice. Tienen que tener cuidado si es was or were. And the conjugation. Buscar el participio del verbo. ¿Listo? Which is in passive voice. Okay. That's it. No more. Related with passive voice. Okay. Related with passive voice. Okay, now we are going to do the reading activity. Okay, so this is the topic number 2, reading comprehension. Okay, ¿cuál es la idea acá? Y de todas las lecturas que vayamos a hacer en estas 2 semanas, la idea es que yo hago la lectura en el video, I'm gonna make the reading, pero ustedes tienen que cuando vean el video, tienen que seguir la lectura conmigo en voz baja. ¿Listo? Me van escuchando y van leyendo en voz baja, ¿ok? Luego, espero que hagan el ejercicio. Luego de hacer ese ejercicio conmigo, hacen la lectura sin el video, ¿listo? Hacen ustedes mismos la lectura en voz alta y se escucha, ¿ok? Háganlo una vez, ¿listo? Si pueden, háganlo 2 veces si tienen más tiempo, ¿ok? Pero por lo menos una, ¿listo? Y verán cómo les mejora la pronunciación, la fluidez y obviamente aprendemos vocabulario. Esto es un ejercicio que sirve muchísimo, muchísimo, ¿listo? Entonces, si les gusta leer, escojan algo que les guste, algún tema que les guste y lo leen en inglés y hacen ese ejercicio, ¿listo? Si bien el podcast es como el audio, lo van siguiendo así como lo van a hacer conmigo y luego lo hacen ustedes en voz alta, ¿ok? But that's the idea today, ¿no? Make the reading with me at the same time in low voice. And after that, you have to make the reading by yourself in loud voice. Sorry, yes, in low voice. Okay. Okay, let's begin. Vamos a hablar de algo muy interesante en este país. The history and politics of Colombian media. Okay. This is the source, the Financial Times article written by John Paul Radbon, June 3rd, 2013. And this is the source taken from here if you want to go there, okay? Okay, industry and politics, voy a empezar acá. Industry and politics are closely linked with control of the media, but journalists have a proud history of challenging the status quo, writes John Paul Radbone. We have a picture, El Tiempo, ¿no? Our very famous newspaper, ¿ok? Voy a empezar entonces. Ok, vamos acá. Entonces, Guillermo Cano, the editor of El Espectador, Colombian oldest newspaper, was murdered on December 17, 1886 as he left work. 3 years later, a Medellin cartel bomb blew up the paper's Bogota offices in what was meant as a final reprisal for El Espectador. Continued denunciations of the drug gangs. The country was living under a dictatorship of fear, remembers Enrique Santos, then a columnist and a co-owner of El Tiempo, El Espectador biggest rival. But Cano's killing was also a turning point. We knew we had to do something. That something was the Kremlin, a secret grouping of the country's leading journalists who pooled their investigate work and a coordinator the simultaneous publication of anonymous reports across the nation's media. Thank God those days are gone, recalls Mariana Jimena Duzan, El Espectador's coordinator at the Kremlin at the time. They certainly have back then. Colombia was on the verge of apparent collapse. Less than 30 years, the country is an emerging economic power, a remarkable transformation mirrored in the press and the latest challenges it faces. Tellingly, one of the hottest topics in Colombia journalism today is less about staying alive than managing the conflicts of interest that have accompanied the country's newfound prosperity. Of the five vamos acá, ¿no? Listo, chicos, para que me sigan. Of the five Colombian on Forbes Global Billionaires list, the three richest have come to control the country's largest media groups. Luis Carlos Sarmiento, who has a 14 billion fortune, according to Forbes. In 2012, bought El Tiempo, Colombia's largest circulation daily and the newspaper of record. Alejandro Santo Domingo, with 12 billion, owns El Espectador, the country's second biggest newspaper, and Caracol, one of the Colombians' two private television stations, which has production agreements with Univision of the US and Mexico's Televisa. And Carlos Ardila, with 5 billion, owns RCN Televisión and Radio, the country's other private national network, which has a television joint venture with New Corps in the US, as well as being the originator of the Ugly Betty series. Mira, acá nombran hasta Ugly Betty, Betty la Fea. Yeah, it's very famous RCN because Betty la Fea. Okay, vamos acá. On a US canvas, this pattern of ownership is akin to mortgage family, which controls New Corps, also owning a conglomerate such as General Electric. Tiene una comparación, ¿no? Eso es like, ¿cómo se le dice? Conglomerates, ¿no? Like conglomerates in Colombia, the media it's conglomerate, similar, yeah, in families, ¿no? Conglomerates in families, similar to in the United States con esa empresa, General Electric, que funciona igual, families. Okay, the very idea seems anti-ethical. Colombia's long history of journalism, which has nurtured some formidable talents, from Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the Nobel Literature Prize winner, who began as a newspaper reporter to El Espectador's modern editor, whose name is honored today by UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize. I am very optimistic about the country, says Dusan. I am less sure about the press. Okay, traditionally, the Colombian press was controlled by leading families who wore their liberal principles on their sleeves and for decades rotated through the political establishment. The Santos family, which owned El Tiempo between 1913 and 2007, is the best known example. Eduardo Santos was the country's president between 1938 and 1942, while Juan Manuel Santos, his great nephew, is the current president. Bueno, eso ya está un poquito viejo. Is the current president, but the Santos family is not the only Colombian clan with a political journalist access. Muy bien. Las últimas dinastías, lasting dynasties. Andrés Pastrana, who was Colombia's president between 1998 and 2002, pilas como estoy diciendo los años, ¿no? Por eso es que en inglés se separan. 1998, 2002, 1992 and 2002, began his career as a journalist. The brother of Ernesto Samper, president from 1994 to 1998, is Daniel Samper Pisano, one of the country's best-known columnists. Felipe Lopez, publisher of Semana, one of Latin America's sharpest news weeklies, is the son of a former president and the grandson of another. Semana's editor is Alejandro Santos, nephew of the current president. You wouldn't get that kind of incestuousness in Africa. Incestuousness in Africa, exclaims former Vice President Francisco Santos, a sometime journalist who is also a cousin of the current president, as well as being one of his fiercest critics. Colombia remains a country of contradictions and surprises. For some, these family dynasties are a symbol of paradoxical country, one with the continent's longest history of democracy, but also some of its most enduring elites in the UK. They might be called members of the great and the good. The great and the good. Yet, the recent ownership changes in Colombian media industry, which earns 1.5 billion a year in advertising revenues, suggest the country's elitists. A problematic word because it implies precision, are in flux, and these changes, while a welcome sign of social mobility, have brought fresh challenges, especially conflicts of interest. Certainly, there are potential conflicts aplenty for Colombians' new media barons. Sarmiento is a self-made billionaire whose group Aval financial conglomerate has interest in the booming sectors of insurance, banking, pension, and infrastructure. Y hay como una línea del tiempo. Listo. Sigo acá. Santo Domingo heads the Valorim Industry Group, which has interest in forestry, transport, and brewing, via its 14% holding in London-listed SAP Miller, which bought the Santo Domingo's family beer company Bavaria in 2005 for $6 billion. Okay, lastly, Ardila is an entrepreneur who married into a soft drinks and food business, and whose other interests include textiles, car parts, and Medellin's Atlético Nacional football team. To be sure, these magnates often stress their philanthropic and patriotic interest in owning media companies, although their potential usefulness cannot be ignored. Julio Santo Domingo, who died in 2011, said owning El Espectador was like having a pistol in your pocket. This is genial. having a pistol in your pocket. You don't want to use it, but it's good to have just in case. Still, his purchase of the paper in 1997, in a large part of out civic duty to stop it growing bankrupt, it's widely acknowledged. Esa palabra está difícil, ¿no? Acknowledge. Listo. Okay, almost finished. He also liked the fact that El Despertador sometimes went after some of his friends' interests. Says one says one long-standing business associate, it clicked and amused him at a cocktail parties. Santo Domingo's son Alejandro continues to support the newspaper financially with a daily readership of 240,000. It makes a loss, although it expects to break even next year and is still known for its liberal journalism and student-heavy readership. Luis Carlos Sarmiento Jr., whose father bought El Tiempo after financial problems prompted Spanish publisher Planeta to sell the paper in 2012 after buying in 2007, has been more explicit. El Tiempo, which has more than 1 million daily readers, is profitable and has a thriving classified business. Someone has to own El Tiempo, but who can own it without having conflicts of interest and also loss of money? Such entities don't exist, he told the FT shortly after the purchase closed. We will have to manage these conflicts of interest like everybody else. Furthermore, there is an altruistic motive to it, as my father will tell you. Listo? Okay. Certainly billionaires owing broadsheets in a sign of the times. In the developed world, many an ailing newspaper has hoped for a philanthropically minded billionaire to come to its aid. But in Colombia, where the corporate stage is smaller and the well more concentrated, the drama is newer, and perhaps because of that, more intensively felt. The issue has raised questions about what is the best ownership model for journalism, corporate or family. If a corporation is a cross subsidy, if the company advertises in the paper it owns, and if that happens, how can conflicts of interest be avoided? El Espectador, which has a publishing agreement with the FT, routinely publishes disclaimers whenever it reports on a Santo Domingo business. It is newspaper policy, says Fidel Cano, El Espectador's editor and the nephew of Don Guillermo, one sign of editorial continuity under its new owners. El Tiempo, however, still seems to be working out its disclosure system. Reporters at the paper say, Roberto Pombo, El Tiempo's director, bristles at the notion that this compromises editorial independence and stresses that our columnists can write whatever they want to, as they always have. Nonetheless, to conspiracy theories, which Colombia has in abundance, the situation is ripe for abuse. For then, the powerful corporate owners of New Colombia, which have replaced the powerful political families of old Colombia, suggest a country enthralled to power and entrenched interest. Critical controversy. Listo, vamos a terminar. Este dos. Critical controversy. One recent careful field surround Daniel Pardo, an independent journalist whose father, as it happens, is a former foreign minister. Pardo lost his job at internet news portal Kinnicky after publishing a critical piece about Pacific Rubiales, the dual-listed Canadian-Colombian oil company, which had both advertising space throughout the Colombian media. Oh, no, okay. The whys and wherefores of Pardo's case are disputed, although Dusan commented in her Semana column. His departure confirmed something that we already knew, that in those media without a clear dividing line between information, opinion, and publicity, freedom of expression is a mere suffix. Nonetheless, journalists continue to expose corruption and scandals. For example, swaths of former congressmen are under investigation for alleged links to paramilitary groups. Journalists' work continues to make them targets of violence. In May, Ricardo Calderón, Semana's investigations editor, escaped an apparent assassination attempt near Bogota, and the government has warned of other plots. If the need for advertising revenues creates some self-censorship, it is also a far cry from other Latin American countries, where governments often have an arm lock on the advertising budgets of state-owned companies. Instead, the end result is a typical Colombian hybrid on that perhaps should not work but does. Yes, vamos acá. Yes, Colombians' main media belong to the country's most powerful people, but be they economic or political. But it's difficult to see that they affect the media's independence, says Jaime Abello, director of the FNPI, the new Ibero-American Journalism Foundation, an independent group funded by Garcia Marquez. There has always been a close relationship between power and the press here. Yet at the same time, also independence, space, and certain critical distance. In some ways, the problems of Colombia's media landscape reflect the country's broader success. That it faces the same kinds of conflicts and pressures as the media, almost everywhere is a sign of the Colombian economy's growing openness, globalization, prosperity, and concentration. The more powerful revolution has not been changes in ownership, but the rise of the consumerism and the internet. That is one conflict publishers everywhere have not figured out how to win decisively, including even those intrepid Colombian journalists who once faced down drug barons from the Kremlin. Vamos acá, other Colombian media. Entonces, how to navigate one's way around Colombian media? In addition to El Tiempo, which has an excellent printed edition, and El Espectador, which has a top-notch website, there are the family-owned regional newspaper. The root commercial held of titles such as El País in Cali, El Colombiano in Medellín, and El Nuevo Heraldo in Barranquilla, with circulations of around 200,000 each, ensures media plurality in a country that is always rich in news. Eso sí. For Cripps and for many indispensable analysts of the week's news, there is Semana, a magazine with a pithy narrative reporting style based on Time and The Economist. Now is 30 year. Semana has groomed many Colombian best journalists. Apart from lively radio stations, such as Blue, a relative newcomer to the Bogota airwaves, there are nimble and proven internet startups that dig deep into breaking news and political themes, certainly deeper than on television, where analytical news programmers tend to run late at night. The most notable website is La Silla Vacía, run by Juanita León, a former Semana journalist. Founded in 2009, LaSillaVacía.com publishes investigative pieces has some 300,000 unique users, is well read by opinion formers and policymakers, and covers its costs, even if this is largely thanks to grants from agencies such as the Ford Foundation. The commercial side has been harder than I thought, Leon admits. For new junkies, other sites include razonpublica.com, which tends towards hefty essays, and kinky.com, which mixes fashion with politics in a lighter blend. Finally, there are social media, especially Twitter, much used by former President Álvaro Uribe, a prestigious prestidigitator with more than 2 million followers. He launches stinging attacks daily on the policies of his former protege, Juan Manuel Santos. A common theme from the hyperactive Uribe is a lament about how the country's security has worn since he stopped being president. Listo, chicos, esa es toda la lectura. ¿Okay? Entonces hagan el ejercicio. Está un poquito larguita, pero está chévere porque habla de algo que nos interesa, que es como muy de nosotros. ¿Listo? Aquí hay unas preguntitas. ¿Listo? Reading comprehension questions. Entonces vamos, contestamos de la 1 a la 7, based on the reading. Y tratemos de usar la voz pasiva para contestar las preguntas cuando se puedan. ¿Listo? Bueno, les leo un poquito las preguntas. Sorry, guys. I forgot to read the questions. Entonces, the questions. When was killed Guillermo Cano? Who dropped the bomb in El Espectador offices? What did the most important journalist in that moment after the attack? What did the most important journalist do? Sorry, me faltó el verbo. What did the most important journalist do in that moment after the attack? Who are the three Colombians that control the media in our country? Who owned El Tiempo during 1913 to 2007? What did Mr. Santo Domingo said about owning El Despertador? And question number 7, what other media in Colombia is starting to inform people in a different way? Okay? So answer the questions. Usen la voz pasiva, porfa, en las respuestas cuando se pueda. Right? Okay, guys, that's all. Thank you so much for your time. See you later in class. Take it easy. Thank you.